Hi, for tuning in. My name is Ben Taylor. I'm a self-aware narcissist on this channel to provide awareness about narcissistic abuse. Founder of Raw Motivations, and what I do is I actually help liberate people that are trapped in toxic relationships. Specifically, women that are stuck mentally and emotionally and not sure how to actually be freed, how to actually get freedom from a toxic guy. Maybe you've been in one of these situations. You've been in a place where you don't know what to do, how to be able to move forward, how to be able to grow and change and develop yourself, and as a result, you realize that you're stuck in a toxic relationship. Well, that's who I was for the longest period of time. Not the person that was stuck, but the person that was abusing. The person that was manipulative, the person that was controlling. The person was making sure that everybody else knew who I was, knew my image, knew my idea, my thought about who I had about myself, and was more focused about that than it was about anything else. And as a result, I started to look at different women. I started to do different things, started to cheat, started to lie, started to manipulate. The goal inside of all of it was to continue being just who I wanted to be. Didn't really care about what it did or how it hurt anyone else. Didn't care about how it affected my wife. Didn't care about how it affected other women. All I cared about was myself. Maybe you've been inside of one of these relationships where you've been cheated on multiple times, over and over and over again. That's what I did. So I'm on this platform to let people know about narcissistic abuse. Let them know what it actually is, what people are actually struggling with, and the confusion that happens when you're stuck with a toxic guy. When you're stuck in a relationship and you feel like this person should care about you and you think that he does care about you, but in reality, he doesn't. And you're still wondering and you're trying to figure out, how do I actually heal from this? How do I actually move forward to grow, change, and develop who I am? If y'all can hear me okay, let me know. Just say it in the chat if you can hear me. Type in yes, you can hear me. This shirt has like the microphone up really high and it just feels weird. So if you can hear me, just type in yes in the chat. Okay. So anyways, so being on here, part of what I do on this channel is to just provide awareness. Let people know about narcissistic abuse, the things that I did, how I showed up in a negative and a toxic way, to be able to give you some type of closure and some type of clarity of how to be able to move forward. How to be able to heal and grow and change and develop who you are. So what questions do you have about narcissistic abuse? Either my past or about healing from it or growing from it or developing from it. What questions do you have? What comes up for you when you think about narcissistic abuse? Maybe being with a toxic person. Find a good spot for it. How many of you feel like you're stuck in a toxic relationship and you're not sure how to be able to move forward? What would be the piece that has you stuck currently? What do you want to know about narcissists and toxic relationships? A lot of times people don't realize that narcissists just don't care. They don't care about you. They don't care about anyone else. They typically care about themselves. Their image, their mindset, their money, like all they care about is like how they're perceived. They don't really care about what's actually underneath the surface. They just care about the mask that they have to put up. That's what I did for the longest time. I would create masks. I would create this version of reality that I knew wasn't true, but if I admitted who I was, then it would all come crashing down. Like the lies that I was telling myself, the lies I was telling other people would be exposed, and I didn't want that. It wasn't a piece of my world that I wanted to expose myself or grow or develop. Did you go through PTSD? If so, how long did it last before you healed from it? I didn't go through PTSD. PTSD was more of what I caused. It wasn't something I dealt with or that I had issues with. The biggest issue for me was actually confronting the truth, being honest. I wasn't willing to be honest, and as a result, like it continued just to damage other people. There's a piece of me that wanted to be honest, but I didn't know how. I was like, well, I'm not really sure how to be honest, and if I was honest, it was going to release all this guilt and shame that I didn't want to deal with in my life. So as a result, I just continued to lie. Got to the place where I thought that lying was going to be the only thing that was going to save me, but in reality, it just kept digging the pit, making it harder and harder to actually get out of all the shit that I was doing and the lies that I was telling one person, and all of a sudden they were talking to another person, exposing my lies, and that's where it just got bad. More and more people started to find out about who I was, about what I was doing, about the cheating, about the affairs, about all the different things that were hidden underneath the surface. But I wanted to keep it hidden. It felt easier to be able to keep my lies. It felt easier to continue to show up not true, not honest, not forthcoming. It felt easier. Because it meant that I didn't have to deal with my shame. I didn't have to deal with the guilt. I didn't have to deal with the lies and the broken promises that I had. Did you ever obsess over the women you hurt? I have in the past. It's not something that I obsess now. In the past, there was definitely times that I obsessed over them while being with them or even after them. But part of that was also a piece of believing a version of reality that it was that amazing, or that it was that good, or that I actually cared or loved these people, when in reality, I was just using them for my own gains. It's a really good question, though. What other questions do you have? Drop any questions you have in the chat as far as like dealing with narcissism, narcissistic abuse. Drop in the chat. We'd love to be able to help you just understand and know a little bit more. I come on, I do these question and answers every once in a while just to be able to give some clarity. My narcissist has a fantasy where he talks. Did everyone see through you, or only one person see the worst of you? Not a whole lot of people saw through me. Most people thought that I was a great guy. Most people thought that I had it all together. In reality, I didn't. In reality, my wife was the one that saw the most of it, but she was also like gaslit and lied to and trauma bonded. There was many different things that like left her still with me, even though she knew that she wanted to leave. What would you tell your daughter after experiencing abuse and she had a child with him? Leave, go no contact, and focus on healing you, and focus on being able to be a healthy person for your kid. Are narcissists bisexual? Not necessarily. I think there's a lot of narcissists that because they do so much inside of the sexual world, they get to a place that they get bored, and so they start experimenting with other things. And that's where you see a lot of that. At what point do you think was your wake-up call to wake up? I don't know if I'm saying it right. No, you're saying it fine. When we talk about a wake-up call, it was more of a piece of understanding that I was in charge of my own results. This is a piece that most people do not want to hear and do not want to be accountable to. I was in charge of all my results. So that meant if I didn't like the relationship that I was in, it was my fault. I didn't like how the relationships were going. That was my fault. I didn't like the life that I was living. That was my fault because I'd created all of that. Created the lies that left me trapped inside of my own prison, and created the world that I designed simply by being a liar and being a cheater. So getting to the place of understanding that I have lies and there's no way that I was actually going to like deal with that until I was willing to be honest, nothing was ever going to change. Nothing was ever going to get better. Have you ever seen the woman you were with self-destruct or chase you after you discarded her? Yes. I would say that happened at least once. How can someone make a narcissist understand that the actions hurt others? You can't. Maybe start walking away and focus on your growth and your development. You're trying to get a wall to acknowledge that it's hurting you when you keep running into it. It's a really good illustration. So part of it is you're trying to get someone to understand and acknowledge something that they're never going to understand because they don't care. Like, you have to understand most people are trying to get the narcissist to understand, and part of the reason you're trying to get him to understand is because you think that if you get him to understand that he'll change. You think that if you get him to understand how he's hurting you, then maybe he'll realize and he'll stop. Fact of the matter is he knows he's already hurting you. He doesn't actually care. If he cared, he'd actually do something different, but he doesn't because he keeps doing the same thing over and over and over again. They're never satisfied with anything you do. I can't do it anymore. Yeah, they're not satisfied with you. That's why you have to start focusing on your growth and your development so that you are satisfied with you. What would you tell your daughter who's broken down after the scars? She can't seem to move on. Have her reach out. Because like we have to be able to help her actually rewire and change the story she believes. Help her heal from the trauma bond. If she doesn't heal from the trauma bond, she's going to be stuck long term. Can you imagine being being narcissistic, selfish, lying, cheating, and being aware in the moments of clarity, wanting to change but not knowing how, and ultimately being unhappy with your life? Yeah, that was a lot of my life. I was unhappy with a lot of my life because most narcissists are aware. They tell you that they're not because they don't want to be accountable. Most of them know exactly what they're doing. Do narcissists understand their own emotions? Is that what you're trying to say? A lot of narcissists know that they have emotions, but how to actually deal with them? Yeah, most narcissists and most men don't even know how to deal with their emotions. Thank you for that explanation. On the scenario, I was thinking of the mom of a friend of mine, so it's a different scenario, but it made a lot of sense. Okay, this is good. I'm glad. What is the intent behind the trauma bond? Well, first off, just understand there's not necessarily intent from the narcissist to build a trauma bond. He's not walking into the relationship thinking, how do I bond you to me? He's just thinking, how do I keep this person so that I can save face, have an image, or just keep the supply a little bit longer? The whole piece of a trauma bond is just going to control you and leave you stuck mentally and emotionally with the toxic guy. What about the kids when they are stuck in the middle after their mother leaves? I'm not sure I understand, like, what about it? Like, there's a million ways we could talk about that. So I need to kind of know a little bit more of what you're asking inside there. It's been 15 years and I'm exhausted. Let's help you heal. Because, I mean, it's one thing if you're stuck in it and then continuing to do the same thing over and over. Let's work on that. Is there a way to get out of the web even with them being around? It's really difficult. Like, I've worked with over 3,000 clients, and at this point, I've seen it's very difficult for someone who is inside the relationship to actually get freedom. Full freedom, very, very, very difficult. Not impossible, but extremely difficult. Do they really even love? No, because they can't love without their ego being in the way. So you have to understand, like, narcissists are incapable of love if they're unwilling to lower their ego. The ego is always going to be in the way, nothing's ever going to change. How would you describe how you feel now? How do you feel about your wife and kids, and how did that develop? Part of it developed over a choice of being willing to actually invest the time and energy in the relationship, where before I wasn't. I was more focused on myself and everything I wanted. So there is a place of wondering and questioning, like, do I even want this? I've told my therapist before, like, I didn't want this. I didn't want my relationship. I didn't want my wife. And all of that was because I wasn't willing to actually invest the time and energy into it. I wasn't willing to actually give up that piece of the high of chasing other women, of being the person who is actually doing all these things over and over and over again. Narcissists are not aware of their behavior. Yeah, majority are not. Majority are not aware to the point where they're actually going to admit it. A lot of them are aware that they're doing something, but they're not actually willing to change their behavior. If you could tell your daughter one thing to let him go outside of going no contact, what would you say? That's difficult. I think, like, if you're dealing with your daughter and trying to have her actually be free, if she's not willing to go no contact, then she needs to start questioning her reality. Like, she needs to start questioning, is this guy abusive? Is this actually love? Like, how is he demonstrating care and respect? Because if he's not actually, like, listening and doing this, like, it's going to continue to be abusive over and over. Are parents to blame for a child becoming narcissistic in adulthood? I wouldn't say necessarily to blame. Sometimes they don't have the right resources to be able to help them grow and develop. But inside of all of that, big piece inside of it is the child not dealing with shame and guilt effectively. I blocked the narcissist. Now he takes pics with a mutual acquaintance and makes him post them. You'd think it is intentional. He wants to be seen. Yeah, he wants to be seen, and he wants to trigger you. Narcissists are oftentimes going to trigger you to feel bad and to, like, feel like it's your fault, feel like you're crazy. All those things are going to happen, for sure. These are great questions. How can I stand up to a bully narc to make them stop being a bully? Are you in the relationship? Then leave. Stop trying to fight him. Like, you're trying to fight and you're trying to win a game that you're not going to win. And I don't mean you're not going to win because you're not smart enough or you're not good enough or anything like that. I mean, you're playing a game with someone who's going to always change the rules. He's always going to shift how he's going to come across, how he's going to be, how he's going to show up. So, like, you have to understand you're never going to win at a narcissist. You're never going to win in dealing with a narcissist because he's always going to shift it up on you. So, like, when you want to get to a place of, like, not dealing with, like, the bully piece, like, you have to understand, like, he's going to continue to try to control you. You have to be able to actually step back and be like, I'm no longer going to play your game. Is there a link? A link for what? Sorry. How is the relationship with their kids? Narcissists typically don't care about their kids. They're not willing to invest the time and attention into the kids unless they're getting something from the kids. How would you make another self-aware? Leave. Focus on your own growth and your own development. You can't make another person aware. Like, that's the thing, is, like, you can't force it on him. If he's not willing to admit that he's a liar, then nothing's going to shift, nothing's going to change. And you're not going to be able to force him to be like, oh, now I admit that I'm a narcissist. Most of them won't even come close to admitting that simply because it sounds like the worst thing ever. Because most people peg it as a disorder that's, like, never going to happen. Stop playing along. Yeah, that's really it. Yeah. Yes, looking at them with a blank face while just blinking drives them crazy because they walk away. I wish that was the case for everybody. Sometimes they'll get more abusive. You have to be really careful with gray rocking that it doesn't turn into more abuse. How about their motherboard if they're men? What are you talking about? If you're there with your daughter and you could see her falling back in love with him, even though he has said, done nothing to change, what would you tell her at that moment? One, I would say, like, she needs to get help. Like, you keep bringing up the piece, you're not going to be able to convince her unless she actually sees the truth. If she's not willing to see that he's been abusive, if she's not willing to see this, then you're just going to have to hold space. Like, there's not really a perfect solution for you to be able to get her aware or make sure that she actually heals from this. That's what's hard. What do you do when they go quiet? Focus on you. Like, when they go quiet, like, that's your reprieve. That's your time to be able to actually focus on you. Yeah, you could worry and stress about what he's going to do, or you could prep and prepare yourself so that you're healed enough so that no matter what he does, you're not triggered, you're not frustrated, you're not like bent out of shape, because you're able to focus on you. So if he goes quiet, focus on you. Focus on what do you actually want in your life? How do you actually want to grow and develop who you are? Most of the time, I can't relate because my ex was a female, so thank you. And you speak of him most of the time. So you can switch it. I'm not going to really change what I talk about, because one, I talk about from my experience, and two, I work with women that have been in toxic relationships, and I work with men that have been the abusers. So you can always change it. I also don't know that world 100%. So that word narcissist is being used too loosely. Everybody these days are narcissists. A lot of times people use that and say that. It's a lot of people that are acting narcissistically, and most people want to go off of like their Google search that says, oh, there's only like a couple percent in the world. Still a lot of people, even if you take that 1% with the billions of people on the planet. But yeah, a lot of times that word gets thrown around loosely. The biggest thing that I talk about is not just the piece of diagnosing, but we just talk about what are the actions. How does this person actually demonstrate? When you see this person demonstrating narcissistic traits, maybe he's a narcissist. Doesn't mean he is. And at the end of the day, it doesn't even matter. What matters is you're being with an abuser. You're being in a toxic relationship with toxic love, and this person is not actually helping grow, change, and develop you. So it doesn't matter if you get the label, he's a narcissist or not. What matters is you actually heal you. When do you plan on getting help? Are you talking to me? You must be new to the channel. It's been 4.5 years of therapy and over $150,000 worth of coaching. So yeah, been working a lot on going and developing who I am. As a result, we end up bringing this into work with our clients to be able to help women actually heal from toxic relationships and heal from abusive men, so they're able to stand up in their power, actually understand who they are, and no longer get sucked back in. Why do people get angry at the reaction of the victim versus the abuser? Do you mean like reactive abuse? Like, why do people like get angry like seeing reactive abuse? What do you mean with that? My narcissistic family wasn't physically abusive when I realized that they had said meant nothing. I'm talking about my parents. Yeah, a lot of times they do that. Why do I attract so many narcissists? I would say because you don't know who you are and you don't have healthy boundaries. It's a piece that most people hate when I say this. But a lot of times when you're a narcissistic magnet, it's because you don't have a vision and a value of who you actually are to be able to move forward so this person doesn't sideline you. Narcissists are like cars driving beside you that want to push you off the road, push you off the guardrails. And if you don't have healthy boundaries, the guardrails beside you, they're going to keep pushing you off the road. So when we talk about building boundaries, most people think about having boundaries for the narcissist or rules or regulations. That's not what boundaries are. Boundaries are actually for you. They're to help you with your vision, your values of who you actually are, and help moving forward. Why do people take the side of the abuser and get angry at the victim? A lot of times they'll take the side of the abuser because either with his family, they want to cover it up and they feel more comfortable with that. Sometimes they take the side of the abuser because that's all they see and they're like gaslit into believe it. A lot of times they will ignore the victim because it doesn't feel like safe or good, and they just want to fall in line and avoid conflict. Is there a difference between BPD and narcissism? Yeah, there is. They are closely related. They're both inside of the cluster B categories. So you have narcissism, antisocial, borderline personality, and histrionic. So those are the three that are all like together in one sense. Borderline is very similar. There's some nuances and some differences, but borderline is very similar. Can narcissists heal and change for the better? And do all narcissists cheat? I believe all narcissists cheat. And do they change and heal for the better? Typically they do not, because they're too focused on continuing the same lies over and over and over again. It's good questions. Like the steam to help get this out. The steam to help get this out? I don't know what that means. Bella's up. How their inner child feels when they abuse victims. Do they regret misbehaving? Typically, they're not necessarily regretting it. It's just more of like they're avoiding the accountability of it. So they're continuing moving forward, like trying to avoid or ignore the piece. Inner child, that's a really good one. The inner child for a narcissist internally is typically running away from shame. Most narcissists have a bad relationship with shame, and so they're trying to be able to run away from it, try to avoid it. Because the guilt activates the shame. The shame they don't want to feel, they don't want to approach, they don't want to deal with. So as a result, they're going to run away. If that means they're running away and they end up running over you, hurting and abusing you, the thought process is like, whew, well, at least I didn't get hurt. But so he's not really even focused or caring about what he does to you. He's just trying to avoid the shame and accountability for him. X is a scapegoat. I have maintained healthy boundaries and minding my own business, but then I lost 99% of my friends. Family was NPD2, living alone, and random people are fighting. Yeah, so like a big piece of that is like when you get out and you lose a lot of friends, at first it seems awful. It's actually a blessing in disguise because it's just showing you who the fake friends are. My possible narcissistic brother keeps kicking mom out of our bed. How do we make him stop? Not sure where we're going with that. Only 2 likes, but so much interaction. Appreciate it. Thank you for being self-aware and helping others. You're welcome. What happens when a narcissist tries to assert control but doesn't get the result they want? Oftentimes that's where you see rage. I'm not retreating to one. Just disappeared on me. I think he moved near me on purpose too. I lost the last half of that. I'm sorry. Wouldn't it be the shame in both people in the relationship that keeps the relationship going? No, not at all. Yeah, there's a lot of guilt and shame that happens from like the abused. We'll find a lot of guilt and shame, but it's not what keeps them in the relationship. Sometimes you could have that keep them quiet or keep them isolated, but oftentimes like that's a piece that they're still like running and hiding from other people because they're afraid of like what people are going to think or how people are going to judge them. Does narcissist unblocks you hoping to contact him, but he won't try to contact you? A Hoover? Yeah, 100% is a Hoover. He's trying to be able to interact with you and trying to be able to get you to respond or to react. All it is power and control. More power and control, that's all it is. My ex-narcissist moved on with a married coworker after I found out and left his marriage. How are they still together 2 years, 7 children later? Because she's accepting his abuse. It's not because he magically shifted or changed. Everybody thinks that, and that's part of the role that he's trying to play to make you feel like you're crazy. In reality, the majority of narcissists will start up a new relationship with someone that doesn't know them, and they'll hold out a little bit longer. Maybe they'll learn different things of how to hide the mask a little bit better in one relationship that they take to the next. But it's not that he's all of a sudden magically shifted or magically changed. One, it doesn't work that way, and it doesn't happen that fast. And two, the majority of times, they're not willing to be honest. They're still lying, they're still abusing, they're just doing it in a different way, but showcasing it outwardly like they got everything together. Not reacting to one that just disappeared on me. I think you moved near me on purpose. Is that a control tactic? Only if you let it. Like, it doesn't necessarily mean it's a control tactic, but it might be a way to try to interact, to trigger you, to get a response, to Hoover, all those kind of things. So you just have to focus on you. Like, the more you focus on him, the more he actually wins. But it's fake, so they can't keep it up. It is fake, but you also have to realize, like, you don't know the whole situation. A lot of times when they're with another person, you might think, how is this person putting up with this? Well, maybe they're getting used to the abuse and maybe they had a bad childhood, so they're more trauma bonded than you were. Like, just doesn't mean anything. A lot of times it means that the next person is just more naive or willing to accept the abuse more than you were. Do narcissists love anyone? Narcissists love their image. They don't necessarily love other people. The reason why they typically can't love other people is because they're unwilling to actually lower their ego. So majority of times they're still focused on themselves. Congrats 100K. Thank you. I meant to like do like a whole post and everything, but it was like right as we were going on vacation and I completely forgot. But 100K was like a big moment inside of YouTube. It's been a couple of years. So for us to be able to get to 100K was really cool, really exciting. So thank you. I appreciate it. Any friends you regret losing? No. None at this point, because any of the ones that I would have like lost now wouldn't have been healthy ones. I'm trying to go no contact, but he won't stop. You said pooping. Won't stop pooping up in my house. Sorry, that's just funny. I don't want to call the cops, but it's getting ridiculous. Why don't you want to call the cops? Like, why won't you just call the cops? Because otherwise, he's pooping at any time. No, I'm just kidding. Otherwise, he's going to keep showing up. Like you can either say, I want him to keep showing up, or I don't want him to keep showing up. Not wanting him showing up means you call the cops. Or he can just keep popping up. Kayla's doing well. She was here a second ago, but then she left because baby woke up. Stuck in the relationship for this now. Yeah. A lot of times people get stuck. Oh, Michelle, pop. There we go. Are they all sex addicts? No, they're not all sex addicts. A lot of times narcissists will pretend or act or say that they're sex addicts so that they have justification to always want sex. Why do my narcissists have this obsession with winning against me? I don't even know the guy. A lot of narcissists want to win no matter what. I'm very competitive, that's for sure. But yeah, a lot of narcissists want to win and have like the last laugh, have like the piece over you. That way they feel in control, power and control. Friend is in a relationship with a narcissist but doesn't have the will to end it with them. A lot of times they don't. A lot of times they're willing to actually see the truth, they'll never leave. How to deal with a narcissist in the workplace? Sometimes you have to go above them. Sometimes you have to set really strong, healthy boundaries. Sometimes you have to expose to certain levels. Like in the workplace is really difficult, especially if it's like your boss or something. Sometimes it's just not the right place to be. Do narcissists act better in public versus in home? A lot of times they do. That way they can look a certain way, act a certain way, be a certain way. Yeah. Why would one move right near me? It could be to like hoover you. Are they stubborn without any reason and stupid to lose everything just for the sake of their stubbornness? 100%. Do narcissistic men use sex as a way to hurt or harm you? Yes. And leave you sick because raising hands on his victim would be over violent? Yes. 100%. Why does obsession with control over me though? I don't see them. They were a stranger who for some reason needed to make me feel small. A lot of times the obsession piece, especially if it's random like that, is random. But they'll like lock onto you and they'll continue until you make it stop. How can you tell if the person is being genuine or not? Honesty and consistency, vulnerability, truthfulness, like being able to actually question and see, will they actually respect your boundaries? Will they actually respect you? I don't know why this clicking so hard. All of a sudden, you were so on point. Reach out. We'd love to be able to help you. So if you want to know more about what I do, you can go to rawmotivations.com. There's a breakthrough call for women. There's a breakthrough call for men. I work with women who have been stuck in a toxic relationship, in or out of, to be able to help actually find freedom. I also work with narcissistic men to be able to actually get them to a place of being honest. If any of this resonates with you today, you can go to rawmotivations.com. We'd love to be able to help you move forward. The same narcissist that moved near me begged me to unblock him after sex, so that was another tactic to get me out. Yeah. If a narcissistic man threatens constantly about taking my life, would he? I would believe all threats when it comes to a narcissist, and I would protect yourself. Like, that's the biggest thing. Like, don't take any of his threats lightly, because I would rather you be more prepared than not, because I've seen too many things happen. Does stalking ever actually stop? Typically when you stop it and you get him thrown in jail. Like, there's not a place where you're going to get him to logically stop. Why would he move on to his new supply and keep stringing his old supply through court? How could his new supply be okay with him doing that? That implies that the new supply knows everything and he's being honest with her. Like, you have to admit, like, you don't know what the new supply knows. First step to getting away from one. One, write down all the abusive things that he's done to you and understand that the longer you stay, the more that list is going to grow. We have to work on changing the story. If we don't change the story that you believe, you'll continue to gaslight and believe yourself into believing something that's completely not true. He wants to go to therapy, but only to say sorry so he can be with another woman. Yeah, let him go do his own therapy. You leave and focus on yourself. Do you hate your mother, original caregiver? Nope, I don't. Canada, here I charged and he is in jail. He's a malignant narcissist, has threatened to kill me. When he gets out, 4th time he's in jail, extreme violence, shall be concerned. Yes, 100% you should be concerned. So I would move, like, change a lot of stuff. I would make sure that you're, like, very much protected, because that's a lot of stuff. I've been in my marriage 30 plus years. It doesn't get better. So serious, when are we going to get free? Or is this going to be the rest of your life? Like, there has to be a wake-up call. And if it's been this awful thing, like, we have to be able to get free. How do you ever get over cognitive dissonance? I left a month ago. A lot of that is what we teach inside of healing from the toxic trauma bond, because if we don't actually change that, then you're going to be too confused to actually move forward. Would cheating be a way to intentionally cause harm? 100%. 100%. So narcissist that moved near me, should I just ghost him? What is a safe way to not have him stalk me? I'm not responding to his disappearance, but he begged me to unblock him. So unblocking all different things and then focus on you. Like when you focus on him so much, you lose every single time. All right, Scott G, we can just get rid of you since you're being abusive in the chat. There we go. The NPD I dated ripped me out of last cent. I seriously ill. My parents are NPD and this man is abusive. Going to the police didn't help as parents smeared me as mentally unstable. Yeah, a lot of times you have to be careful with their family. That's for sure. During gaslighting, you said, if you think I cheated and done everything you accused me of, you need to leave. I wouldn't want someone I love to stay in a situation like that as a sneaky guilt trip. Yeah, and that's a way of him getting you to leave so he doesn't feel bad about himself and he doesn't feel bad about him forcing you to leave. Why they lie about cheating when they know the truth? Because once they tell the story, they have to stick to it. There's not a reality that they don't stick to it. Once they stick to the story, that's the story they're locked in. This is a really good question because I had someone ask me this inside of my Ask Ben Anything hour inside of the Thriver community that I run. And one of the things I had to be able to understand is like, even if you had proof, it doesn't mean that he would be honest. Because that piece of him going back on the lie that he said would be like the one piece that's holding up his mask. And as soon as that piece breaks, it all falls down. As soon as that piece breaks, then he's out of integrity with his own lies. It sounds really weird, but like he's trying to make sure that he stays integrity of like, I have to keep this lie because it holds up the mask. If I tell the truth, then the mask falls. Is NPD personality develops when you self-regulate negatively? No. How do you know if a narcissist is truly being a good parent if he only shows the best version of himself to the public? I would say he's not being a good parent because if that's only the best version but he's a different person at home, then it's not. I'm trying to leave pornography, but I'm constantly failing. So biggest thing is we don't shift like the thought process underneath, then you won't actually get it shifted completely. A lot of guys that I work with inside the narcissistic side struggle with pornography. How the child brought up with a narcissistic single mother, is it really bad for the kid? Not if the mother's healthy. It's way better than being in a toxic household. How do you handle someone who knows what you are and sees through the mask? Trying to be able to understand that completely. So like typically with the narcissist, like having someone like see who they actually are, then they're typically going to get pissed off, run away, go to another person. Like a lot of times they're not going to handle that very well. What if the mask fell off but still lying? Then he's like, it hasn't fallen off internally for him. Okay, like that's what I need you to understand. Like he still believes in it. That's why he keeps the lie. If he didn't believe it anymore, then he wouldn't keep the lie. But he has to believe in the mask to be able to keep the lie. Why did you choose to be a narcissist or to consider yourself one? I wasn't necessarily, I woke up one day and I was like, let me be a narcissist. Like, no, I didn't start off that way. I dealt with like shame and guilt and started to lie as a different coping mechanism, and it just started downhill. And got to the place where I was mentally and emotionally abusive to my wife, cheating, lying, manipulating, gaslighting. And it wasn't a piece that I chose early on of like, let me do this with my life. But it was a piece that once I figured it out, once I understood, I was like, okay, now I can actually work on it. But it took a long period of time. I've got a couple videos on YouTube that go more in depth. And I also have a podcast that actually walks through my origin story, which is real and raw with Ben Taylor. I'm stuck, parents waiting to harm me. This man knows it well. He's sexually abusive, and I am too broke. It's only a piece of property. Give an NPD mom. Can't approach police. Need guidance. So a lot of times we'll see people that'll leave and go and move with family, or even go like halfway house. Like we've seen people do anything it takes to actually get out. How do you know you're not like that? Like what? Would love to be able to understand some of these questions. My ex-girlfriend also told me she lives in the moment and the past doesn't matter to her. Is that a narcissist trying to avoid accountability for their past sins? Could be. Doesn't necessarily define it as being a narcissist, but a lot of times narcissists are avoidant of the past. They don't actually deal with it. I was with my husband for 9.5 years before he cheated. He became a completely different person post-affair. He discarded me 2 months ago with no explanation. I'm still trying to understand why. Totally get that. Courtney, there's actually someone inside of our Thriver group that's going through that as well, where she had like a quote-unquote like great marriage, but then all of a sudden it disappears. So being able to work through all of this and being able to deal with all of this has been very difficult. But we're working with her to be able to help rewire the mindset and actually help release. She's actually working through different trauma modalities to be able to actually release stuff that's actually been affecting her for a long period of time. How do you handle affair partners coming back? Do you talk to them or ignore them? I've never had an affair partner come back because of how it's ended. That hasn't been an issue. What is the point in telling someone to just move on? The past doesn't matter anymore. That's to avoid accountability, and that's to try to get you to move on so he doesn't have to admit that he did anything wrong. My narcissist asked me so much to have a serious relationship, wanted to be with me all the time, but the moment I can't and I'm busy, made drama for stupid things and break up so many times. It's like an insecurity piece. Insecurity, like a jealousy piece in one sense, where he's trying to like run away, but then he wants you and wants to control you, and then he can't. Like, it's all back and forth. How can you convince one to go to therapy? You can't. Like, how can I convince you to heal yourself? Only if you want it. There's not a way that I can force you to actually change and develop. This is one of the hardest things in coaching and working through people inside of our program, like women that are trying to heal. If they don't want to heal, they're not going to heal. If the narcissist doesn't want to change, it's not going to change. How do you know that you're doing narcissistic things? One, because I have a wife that calls me out on all my shit. So if I act or respond or talk a certain way, like, she'll call me out. Two, a lot of self-reflection. Three, 4.5 years of therapy. A lot of coaching and working on my mental state and how I process, how I think through things, so that I'm getting clear, so I'm not showing up in a toxic way. Boundaries work when the other person doesn't know you're enforcing a boundary. Is this applicable to a narcissist? Is it similar to not telling them all the boundaries so they don't have a checklist? Similar. Boundaries work when the other person doesn't know that you're enforcing a boundary. Boundaries work when you're committed to standing on that line for you regardless of the outcome. Boundaries work for you when you focus on you and standing on that line regardless of the outcome. Because the boundary is never dependent on the other person. He goes to me the minute I asked him if I should move on. Why? Probably because he noticed and he could sense that you were going to move on, so that he moved on so that he could be in control of the narrative. Why would the victim try to protect the narcissist? Same reason why an abused victim, like narcissist or not, but like physical abuse, like they'll be beat up and then the cops will show up to take away like her husband or whatever, and then she'll start fighting the cops. It's like a trauma response where like she'll start like attacking people that are attacking him. It's wild, but it happens all the time. How long does it take a narcissist to heal going to therapy? I don't have a time frame because it doesn't depend on the time frame. It depends on the honesty. I've been in therapy for 4.5 years. So a lot of my growth and development has happened, but not just because of therapy, because of meditation, because of like stacking, because of coaching that I've done, like a lot of different things that have shifted my mindset that have sped up the process. How do you know when a narcissist is being fake? Consistency is the biggest one. It's the most frustrating because people are like, I don't have time to figure this out, right? The biggest way to be able to see like the other person lying is when you tell full truth, when you're authentic to you. Because the majority of times people will step into a relationship and they won't be completely authentic. They'll have to like shift or hide different things. But when you talk about being real and raw and honest with other people, it starts to expose other people really fast because they don't want to deal with it. I was recently on a podcast with my wife, with another couple, and we jumped right in of being very real and raw. Like sharing, this is the things that have happened. This is the abuse that's happened. These are the affairs. And for a lot of people, they're like, whoa, like that's a lot. How can we actually handle like hearing all that? That's because we're being real. Realness and truth exposes other people. It makes other people feel uncomfortable very fast. How often do you do these lives? It's kind of random. I do like probably like a short live on Instagram pretty much every day, but a longer one like this, a lot of times it's kind of random. I'm trying to get back to doing them like weekly. I've only heard of major life events. Trauma is the only thing that changes the course for a narcissist. I don't believe that. A lot of times major life events will shift a narcissist in a way to become a better at hiding, better at lying, or become the victim. And then he'll just continue to play it off. Why'd you go to therapy and realize you were a narcissist? Really good question. The realizing was probably a longer story, longer period of time, as far as like different pieces of awareness. There was a piece of therapy that I'd already gone, I got sent to a sex addiction intensive. And at that point, I realized I wasn't a sex addict, but it was actually narcissism because I already knew about it, but I was unwilling to actually acknowledge it. And then going to therapy, I started up with EMDR therapy. And at first I thought that was kind of like cuckoo. And I was like, well, I'll just check the box, right? And then probably took about maybe 5 times or something like that. Maybe 5 different sessions before I had like a breakthrough or like something shifted. And I was like, oh, like there's actually something here. And so started to see that there's different pieces that need to be fixed or need to be healed. And then did EMDR for about 6 months and then did regular therapy. Regular therapy is a lot harder to be able to find and get involved in because I went through about like 3 or 4 different therapists before I found the one that I'm with now. And she's like a therapist, counselor, like a lot of different pieces that she falls under. She doesn't fit in a box, which is really nice. And so we'd get to like a place where we'd have a wall that I couldn't figure out, and she switched modalities. So it's huge. But yeah, I don't know if that answers the question. Sorry. How to get comfortable with telling the truth or calling someone out fearlessly. It comes down to confidence in you and you being able to tell the truth to yourself. This is one of the hardest pieces, is until you can actually be honest with yourself, you can't be honest with other people. Until you can actually hold space for your own emotions, you can't hold it for other people. Now, it's hard because you've been conditioned for such a long period of time to not share your emotions, to not share your truth. And it makes you feel like you can't share that with yourself, too. Submitted my info. He actually lied to me about how old he was from the start. Traumatized people pleaser. I kept going. Just wanted to keep my family together. Now I'm awake. I'm glad you're awake. Like let's get you help. If you guys want help with this, you can go to rawmotivations.com. We got links everywhere so that you can reach out because I want to be able to help you heal and grow and develop who you are. How is your empathy response now that you've been going to therapy? Does it come naturally? I wouldn't say always naturally. There's a piece of it being cognitively there, but as far as it being natural, like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Like, there's not always a piece of that that's there. There's more of the cognitive piece for sure, but it's like if you and I are in the room and you start crying, I'm not going to start crying because you're crying. Like, that's not the level of empathy that's there. Does that make sense? We're engaged. All of a sudden he says he's not in love with me. I know he has a new supply. Do you think he'll come back and hoover me? He gave me no closure. Amanda, you're not going to get closure because 1, you don't get closure from a narcissist, and 2, closure doesn't come from the other person. Bear with me for a second. We just had the conversation in one of my other groups. What you need to understand is most people that are looking for closure are looking for the other person at a base level to admit what they did wrong, to admit what happened, to admit that he has a new supply. Well, the question you have to think of and pause for a moment is, what if he never admits? What if he never admits it? Does that mean that you never get your closure? Does that mean that you never heal? Does that mean that you can never move on? Like, play it out for me for a second. If you're at a place where you think closure comes from the other person, what that actually makes you, bear with me, we might lose people on this one, what that actually makes you in the moment is a victim. A victim to him, still. Because you're looking for closure and he's not going to actually admit it and he's not actually going to be honest, and you're looking for this closure piece, which is him accepting and admitting what actually happened. If he never gives it, which he won't, you're still a victim to him. And you'll still have this victim mindset that says, well, if I would be able to figure this out, then I could heal. That's bullshit. Because you're in charge of your own healing. You're in charge of your own growth. You're in charge of your own development. But oftentimes you already know the truth. And it's your ability to accept the truth and actually see and understand the facts of the situation. This is where people get stuck because they're like, well, I don't know the facts. I don't know if he actually cheated. Okay, well, what is the facts about how he treated you? How he demonstrated love, care, honesty, respect, kindness. Oh, like there's a lot of things that there have really awful facts. Yeah, because it doesn't matter if you have all the facts about the truth of what's going on. You have your own facts about what you experienced. When you start to see that, you start to realize, wait a second, I need to actually grow and change who I am. And that's not dependent on his acceptance of your reality. Does that make sense? Is narcissism just jealousy or feeling insecure people that are better than you? No. Oftentimes those can be traits of it. Jealousy is kind of like a piece of it. Insecurity is a piece of it. But that's not all that it is. There's 9 diagnostic traits. You have to have at least 5 to be diagnosed. I've got a couple of videos about that. The DSM-5, 9 traits, all those things on YouTube that you can watch all that more in depth. Why would someone need to make you feel less than them or act in a condescending way? A lot of times so they feel better about themselves. I don't understand how people can't handle me existing while there isn't anything special about me. I don't know what you mean by that. Why do narcissists accuse you of cheating when they know deep down inside you haven't cheated? Because he's already cheated, he's projecting it onto you. How do you and your wife now handle balance and transparency and some personal privacy or feeling controlled? I don't have any personal privacy, so I don't feel controlled either. She has full access to all my accounts. She has full access. She has like my Instagram account like on her phone, so she can just like switch over. Like there's not a piece of like, oh, I have personal privacy. Like that's bullshit. Like no, we're married. We're like one. So like as a result, I'm willing to be fully transparent so that she is comfortable and so that she feels safe. If I get on a train of like, oh, this is my personal space, yeah, well then she can go ahead and divorce me. Because you shouldn't be around a guy that's going to hide. I don't have anything to hide. Yeah, there's different things that I'll talk to guys about versus her. Yeah, get that. Now I've got accountability partners. I've got guys that I run with. I've got guys that we communicate with, like all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, personal space. If you want personal space, be single. Don't be married. I'm a clinically diagnosed narcissist, and I married a narcissist who didn't know at the time that I married her, but was on the side. Dude, in my own marriage, can a narcissist be a victim? I would say tongue-in-cheek, yes, but the majority of times then a narcissist wants to play the victim and not actually take charge of their own results and be different. That's who I work with. I work with narcissists. I work with guys that are trying to actually get back to being honest and be truthful. The majority of them don't. The majority of them don't even want to put in the work. How am I supposed to get work? How to get work when there is usually one outlier that I can't handle me doing anything over bare minimum and lashing out? I do not understand all that question. I'm sorry. How am I supposed to get work when there's usually one outlier that can't handle me doing anything over bare minimum and lashing out? So people are getting upset at you because you're doing the bare minimum? That's what I'm trying to understand. At what point should you leave a narcissist? When you see the person being a liar and they're not willing to see it. I think you should always leave a narcissist. People are like, but you're with a person. Yeah. The only reason I'm here is because she left. This relationship wouldn't still be existing if she'd stayed. But her leaving gave me a chance to actually grow and develop and see, hey, I can't blame it on anyone else, and gave her a chance to actually heal. What does it mean when a narcissist tells you that they're going to start cheating because you know something isn't right? It's manipulation. It's blackmail. Leave. With people that need to feel special but don't do anything but lie and create narratives to enable themselves to... Was that going back to a statement earlier? Nick, I don't know what we're talking about with the workplace thing. If a narcissist unblocks you and you don't contact him, what do? You block him. You focus on your healing. Stay with them. It keeps them... It's kind of like a stupid joke. I also have NPD and I completely agree. But what are you doing to fix it? Because you can't carry it around like a flag and be like, hey, sweet, I have NPD, so I'm okay to be abusive. I'm not saying you're doing that. But when you get to a place where you start realizing, hey, if I have it, you can actually change it. Found out that I'm compulsively work hard to cope. How do I put narcissistic people in their place? Found that I compulsively work hard to cope. How to put narcissistic people in their place when they get triggered from this. So you're saying you work so hard that you trigger narcissistic people and you don't know how to deal with narcissistic people because you're such a hard worker. Let them get triggered. That's their trigger. You're responsible for your own triggers. Why is it so hard for a narcissist to accept that they are one? It's like telling someone they have cancer and they don't want to admit it. It's like a death sentence. Like, I don't want to admit that I'm that because then I can't heal. The biggest thing is like they have to admit that they're a liar. If they don't admit they're a liar, nothing else is going to work. When I talk with guys, when I work with narcissists, and I have like an initial intake call because it's like, hey, I need to see if you're a good fit before I even bring you into the group, into the community, if you actually want to change. I don't care if he's a narcissist or not. I just care that he's a liar. If he's a liar, I can work with that. If he understands that he's not telling the truth, I can work with that. But if he's all worried about like, am I a narcissist or not? I'm like, I'm not going to diagnose you. That's not the point. The point is we have to get you being honest. If you're not honest, nothing's going to shift, nothing's going to change. Have you ever been in a relationship with a narcissist? If so, how did it feel? No, the closest I was with the girl with BPD, and it did not feel great. It's only stupid if you're the one stuck with a narcissist. Woodworking gummy bear, like you're borderline going to get blocked because if you're going to make stupid comments of people that are dealing with trauma and that are in trauma relationships, I'll block you because I don't care. And I would rather just get you off of this channel, but I'm giving you a warning. If you want to be nice and interact on here, perfectly fine. If you want to make stupid comments that are degrading the people that are on here, that are trying to heal, I'll block you in a heartbeat. Why did they twist the truth? So they don't have to admit that they're being toxic. So they don't have to admit the negativity piece. Would you say that one of the main differences between NPD and borderline is that the BPD has more of a fear of abandonment? 100%. BPD has fear of abandonment as the big underlying piece, and NPD has more of like the fear of shame. Abandonment is underneath, shame is underneath the NPD. Does anyone know how, I think narcissist and narcissist behavior are way overused now, like everyone has PTSD now. A lot of people have CPTSD from being in a narcissist relationship. There's a lot of stuff that is overused when it talks about narcissism, but there is also a lot more narcissists now than what there used to be, for sure. But I'd agree. A lot of times it is overused. They haven't done anything to earn it, so they become reliant on feeling special by default. They never learn to cope with feeling incompetent or unspecial. Does anyone know how ladies that resent other ladies and dudes that resent ladies that outperform them? Nick, I'm trying to understand the infatuation of like being worried about them when they're talking about you and your performance. Like, just focus on you. All right. If you all want help with this, if you're a woman that's struggling in a toxic relationship, then go to rawmotivations.com. There's a drop down for a breakthrough call for women. And if you're in a place where you're focused on, where you're a guy that's trying to be able to heal and shift from not being a cheater, not being a liar, those kind of things, then go to rawmotivations.com and go ahead and, okay, now when your job is smeared, okay, good. So we got more clarity. Don't waste time trying to fight a smear. Like, when you waste so much time trying to fight a smear, it just makes you look guilty. Focus on you, your growth and your development. And then other people will see, wait a second, all they're saying about this person doesn't even match up. Back in the day, we just called them assholes, cheaters, etc. Nobody wanted around it. All right, I'm with you there. I agree. Made you realize and get support. It's a longer video that we're not going to have time to be able to do. But I do have a couple videos on here, and I also have my origin story on Real and Raw podcast. I noticed you do the dishes in the dishwasher regularly. Is it a life hack to get a narcissist to do this? No. It's just me doing partnership with my wife. No, bro, they're insane like nurses. Okay? Oh, like, majority of narcissists are insane. Like, I don't know what we're trying to talk about here. I stand for not doing to others what I wouldn't be done to me. What are your thoughts on that? Sounds great. It would be dangerous to reveal a cheater wife to a narcissistic husband cheat, or to keep the secret. I'm all about truth, and I'm all about exposure, and I don't really care. A lot of times it's a piece that you have to be careful and you have to be safe, for sure. But at the end of the day, nothing's actually going to change until there's truth. As a narcissist, why do I always find myself building women to the level that I need them to be? I would question some of that logic. Like, you're trying to build people to be something for you that you can't learn how to be to yourself. So you're trying to fill like a void or a hole. So you're like, maybe if I get this person to be the perfect person, then I'll feel better about myself. Isn't he answering most questions? He just doesn't care about you. That could be true. Always said he don't care and was verbally mentally abusive. Is a true narcissist hear voices and do they have demons when they rage? That is not 100% true. Thank you, appreciate it. How can a victim or a narcissist win? Which one? Or are we just looking at both? Victim wins by not playing the game. Narcissist wins by just keeping you confused. Spiritual awakening, and because of this I met my twin soul and discovered that he is a narcissist, and I never knew what narcissism was before. Now, how would you process that? I would focus on your healing and growth, and I wouldn't focus on it. You get it. Most people think that the narcissist they're with, that their twin flame is like the best thing ever. A lie. Found evidence how he thinks on his private device. Now I know why he wants to be private. He lives a double life. A lot of narcissists do. Why do we keep attracting narcissists even if we're doing a lot of work on inner healing? It's a very good question. Part of it would be boundaries. Part of it would be your own identity. And part of it would even be the energy you put out. So a lot of the healing that has to happen, even if you're inner healing, there could still be stuff outwardly that's getting projected or put out there that's not actually helping you grow and change and develop like long term. Majority of the time people like attract narcissists because they don't know who they are and they don't have strong boundaries. They think they have strong boundaries, but they don't really have strong boundaries. My ex destroyed my life with the kids and grandkids. He's a narcissist. Now I'm about 1 year, no phone calls or texts, even though I keep trying. Oh, okay, so you're trying to contact the kids and you can't get a hold of the kids? It's hard, especially when you have parental alienation. Would you please put the other site on here? It's rawmotivations.com. Everything we got is there. Love to help you there. Thank you for the replies. I don't see you as a narcissist. Blessings to you. Thank you. I appreciate it. How do you feel when you get accused of something you did? Back then, really angry, like mad, frustrated, pissed off because I was getting called out for something. I'm like, how dare you call me out for something, right? Like I didn't want to be held accountable at all. Now, depending on what it is, it's a lot easier. There's still some times where it can be triggering because it's like activating shame, but it's still there. Do you think a lawyer would help put a narcissist responsible for their shitty behavior? If it's something that you can legally like prove and justify and it be that way, then maybe. Otherwise, like, Nick, you're not going to get a narcissist to pay. You're not going to get a narcissist to like wake up and like change their behavior. But you can grow and develop you. And you don't like this because they keep coming back to the same thing. But you're going to focus so much on this other person and these other people, you won't actually shift you. And as a result, it's not that they always win. It's just that you keep losing. I just want to charge them. If you have something legally you can charge them, then take it legally. If you don't have something legally that you can charge them, then stop wasting your time. Do narcissists ever forget their victims who gave their all to make things work? Yes, they forget them because it doesn't matter how much you give them. Okay. And if you want to do defamation, go for it. If that'll make you sleep easier, then go for it. So the hard part about that other question about do narcissists like forget? That implies that the narcissist actually valued what you gave. Majority of times they don't. Your favorite yourself or a narcissist, don't tell me. I won't. He and I don't really like talk or hang out. Once I moved, like we just haven't connected as much. Okay, then go for it. Just know I've never seen people going through the suing process help them heal. So you can. I'm just saying, oftentimes it might give you a temporary satisfaction, but oftentimes it won't help you heal. It doesn't matter how much you give them. Yeah, 100%. Because you have to realize, like, when you're giving so much, you're expecting to be valued based on what you're giving. The narcissist is like this black hole that he just keeps taking. Taking and taking and taking. He doesn't care. Deep inside, do they know they make wrong when they blame you for something that's not true? Yes. When narcissists claim to have a sex addiction when they're caught cheating? Yes. Can they ever be diagnosed with borderline manic depressive bipolar order? Yes. What's the most distinctive and must-have characteristics of a narcissist? Lying. But that goes for a lot of things as well. But biggest thing that I think should make or break a relationship is just being a liar. Not if he's a narcissist or not, it doesn't matter. What matters is the person being able to tell truth. If not, you leave. There's a lot of different traits. Lying, cheating, manipulating, gaslighting, entitlement, empathy, like lack of empathy, like all different types. What difference between covert and overt? One's hidden, one's like showcased. Like you have overt that would be more of like the abusive out front like asshole, and then you have covert that would be like the vulnerable victim that doesn't want the attention but has all the attention. Thank you all so much for being here. You all have been asking really good questions. If you want help with this, we run a couple different things. I run a community where I'm involved with people that are called Thriver community. This is where you have like one-on-one support from me. You've got group coaching calls. We have a lot of different tools and community to be able to help. There's some people that aren't ready to make that step, or they kind of want to test the waters and see. And we also have a program called Unchained. That's on our website as well. We'd love to just be able to help you heal and move forward inside the healing process. Unchained also has an opportunity where you can actually sign up for group coaching as well. So there's 6 group coaching calls that you can have access to as well inside of Unchained. That would be one of the best things that I would say for you, because when you get a chance to be able to be on a group call with other women, when you have a good chance where you can ask questions, we can talk through it, that helps the most. That's the biggest thing. Do you coach the narcissist? I do have an opportunity and a place for that on my website. Don't sign him up though, because I don't want to waste my time. It has to be something that he sees and understands and wants it. Is it wrong to put this small company advertising jobs in narcissism chat rooms? What? What if I find out when it happened where the real sociopath gets in there? Nick, I don't think you're really going to heal because you're too focused on hurting and like, getting back to these people. Just passing through. Oh, that's the title. Do narcissists ever be happy with their life knowing that the consequences of their victims have to go through? Like, that implies that they care about the consequences. You have to understand your logic doesn't make sense to start off with. Okay? Narcissists are always going to seek happiness. They're never going to find joy. But they're not going to not find happiness because they made you hurt. They don't care. They don't give a shit about you. This is why they did it to start off with. So like that piece of like, will it actually, like, will they find happiness because they did this to me? They don't care. That's the biggest thing. Is like, you care so much, they don't. Biggest concern is the time difference. For which? Unchained or Thriver? Those call times are at different times. The Unchained one actually might be in the middle of the night for you because you're in Australia. The Thriver one actually would be night, so it'd be like morning for you. It'd be like midday actually. Told the truth, he lied. Now I'm the bad mom. They're 40-somethings now. Granddaughters helping raise, won't talk to me, broken hearted. Yeah, a lot of times they'll like try to alienate you from the kids. How to do that? I'm joining the program to find out. All easy to say, hard to actually feel. 100%. A lot of what we do is not easy. But we do provide a path, an opportunity, and steps to be able to help you move forward. Biggest thing inside of it is if you sign up for Unchained, right now there's a couple links that are out there right now, but if you sign up for Unchained, you need to be able to sign up for the coaching too. Because if we don't actually get you on calls to be able to help shift your mindset, to be able to help call you out on different things, to hold you accountable, like it won't give you the help that you need. Like, we really need to be able to connect with you. Do you think most people in the cluster B category use a lot of projection, gaslighting, blame shifting? Yeah, 100%. Thanks. I've been made out to be an opiate addict in the opposite political party. So, Nick, live your life so that they don't have anything else to say. Like, I don't know what else to tell you, but like you're stuck. And until you're willing to actually let go and actually focus on you, nothing's going to shift. Nothing's going to change. You're going to be stuck in this place forever. Mom and brother were diagnosed as a narcissist, and he would brag about he's addicted to cocaine. Yeah. I gave my number. I can't give my email. I will do the whole program. Okay. You can always like open up a new email or do like a fake email. Yeah, that's fine too. I appreciate it. All right, so if I can help you with this, go to rawmotivations.com. I want to be able to help you heal, move forward. If you want to talk to me, you can schedule a breakthrough call on the website, or you can click on Unchained, which is one of our smaller programs. It doesn't have as much interaction with me, but does have the places there. But want to be able to help. So reach out, go to rawmotivations.com. Y'all have a blessed and wonderful night, and we'll see y'all next time.